believe that Adam and Eve, I believe that they had flesh in the Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
but they were operating out of the Spirit. Okay, and whenever they fell, they eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Then they started to operate out of the five senses. So the five senses controlled how their soul perceived the world, and they lost the connection to spirit that they once had.
That's pretty deep.
It's wild stuff, you know, and you see it now. Like, we're very controlled by our five senses. Like, man, I can easily sit there and watch 2 movies in a row and just be satisfied with it.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, pornography is such a giant in the church. You know, basically a literal Nephilim giant that walks into the church and takes people over. You know, pornography was a part of my life since a little kid, and it took me taking on the sling and the stone to slay this giant, but it was only when I was ready to give it to God. And when I was ready to give it to God, he made it easy for me to not to go back to it. It's not that I don't have temptation. You know, the temptation is there. Even Jesus was tempted, but he didn't act on it. And so, again, ties back to our five senses. How in control are we of our five senses, or do they control us?
Well, and we're hardwired for failure in this aspect, and I think that that's by design.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You know, so God wants us to rely on Him, but He wants us to choose to.